Hey everybody and welcome back to Semi Stories. Today we got a crazy story from r/TrueOffMyChest where Opie's dad is furious because he wanted an open relationship, but then his wife starts sleeping around as well, which was not his plan. My parents got married when they were super young. My dad knocked up my mom and their parents married them off. My grandfather was able to set up some business for my dad in a big city and they moved here soon after my birth. My mom grew up in a conservative southern town where she was thought to be a submissive wife, and even after moving to the big city, she didn't spend much time socializing. She had no friends and never went out. And my dad was only there to provide for us. He was always away on business and he wasn't there as a husband for my mom or as a father to me. My dad made a lot of money, so we never lacked anything. Growing up, I became my mom's best friend. We would talk about everything. I pushed her to make friends and to find some hobbies. After years of pushing, she started going to a nearby park and made her first friend, a gym teacher. Encouraged by her friend and me, she decided to start going to the gym. She met a few more people there and started having some semblance of a social life, but she still continued to tell me everything. I think my dad's new secretary gave him the idea, but he asked my mom for an open marriage almost a year ago. He told her he wasn't happy in their marriage and that she wasn't providing him with everything that he wanted. My mom, who is a Christian wife, was mortified and told me about the proposal in tears. I suggested she get a divorce, but she said she didn't believe in it and she wouldn't be the one to end their marriage. As my dad pushed, I knew exactly where this would end up if my mom agreed. Her friend and I convinced her. My mom was hesitant at first, but she agreed with the condition that they would be completely transparent with each other. My dad was a middle-aged, 41-year-old man with a belly, and my mom, 39, was an athletic woman who worked out regularly. I'm a 22-year-old woman, by the way. I don't know how my dad was so blind or what he thought would happen. I helped create online dating profiles for my mom almost 6 months ago. After getting an insane number of matches, choosing from them and chatting them for months, my mom started hooking up with a few people. Getting all this attention has provided a massive boost to her confidence and she seems much better. My dad hooked up with his secretary almost immediately. He's had very little luck with other ladies, however. With their transparency thing, my mom tells him about all her hookups. A few weeks ago, my dad screamed at my mom for some minor thing. Usually my mom would have apologized, but with her new confidence, she didn't back down. It's been constant fights the last few weeks. My dad keeps starting fights by making snide remarks about my mom's clothing or her appearance. He even almost called my mom a prostitute, but stopped himself. I think open marriage finally sunk in. My mom told me he tried to have a conversation about stopping their open marriage, but she immediately shut it down. I think they'll split up. My dad was never there for either of us, but the thought of my parents splitting up still feels weird. I don't feel bad for my dad, but I wish he put effort into his family. I'm really happy for my mom though. Obi then posted the first update. A few days after my post, my dad left our home and had a divorce served to my mom in a week. My grandparents didn't know about any of this, but my dad told them when he served the divorce. He also implied to them that my mom was cheating on him. Both sets of grandparents came to our home and started berating my mom. I kept screenshots of all my parents' communications and my mom showed them to them and it got way worse after that. My grandparents started fighting each other, blaming each other's children for causing all of this. A few days after this, my mom's old church friends came to our house. Back when my mom used to go to church, they used to look down on her for being from a small town. My mom has always been a very caring and non-judgmental person, so she disagreed with their bigotry and they began excluding her from activities. After she met her gym friends, my mom stopped going to church entirely. These so-called church friends started calling my mom a floozy and she kicked them out. My mom is on a cut right now, so she has very defined abs and arms. So, along with all the normal stuff getting thrown at her, my grandparents accused her of having a man body, and she also had a lot of random transphobia thrown at her. Her trainer friend has been a great support through all of this. She contacted the attorney that she used for her divorce, and my mom is spending a lot of time at her house currently. Turns out, the business my dad is running is owned by mom. It was set up by my mom's dad in her name, so it belongs to her. I did not know this until now and assumed my dad owned it. The whole situation is a huge mess right now. Dad is living in some hotel, and my grandparents left yesterday after a week of fighting and trying to force my parents back together. I know there is a lot more drama to come, but I hope it calms down for now. Opie then posted this last update on the whole situation. My mom's attorney, the one recommended by my mom's gym friend Lisa, has been a great help. She walked my mom through what's going to happen and reassured her. She started looking through the company stuff in preparation for the divorce proceedings, and we found a lot of shocking stuff. I don't know why I was surprised by this, but my dad was having affairs for a long time. He used company resources to book flights and resorts at holiday destinations. There were receipts from many trips with multiple women, spanning the last 10 years. Because he was always absent from our lives, my mom didn't suspect anything. It didn't seem like he made any effort to hide these. He also used the company email to talk to his secretary about the affair stuff. Turns out they were having sex months before my dad asked my mom for an open relationship. This is what we gathered from their emails. After months of their affair, the secretary didn't want to remain a mistress, so she started pestering my dad to get a divorce. But they wanted my mom to initiate it so that he could get a massive chunk of the company. The secretary came up with the idea of asking my mom for the open relationship. They hoped that my mom would be horrified and ask for a divorce. They were caught off guard when my mom actually agreed, and my dad got jealous when my mom started having sex. After initiating the divorce, he deleted all his emails and told his secretary to do it too. Unfortunately for him, they were still stored in the company email server. I haven't seen my dad in over a month, and all of his communication has been through his attorney. He apparently wants half the company. My mom's attorneys are still looking for more evidence, but they told us that they don't expect him to get much with the evidence they have. My mom's gym friend Lisa has been supporting my mom through the whole ordeal. She also got a divorce because her husband cheated on her, so she's been helping my mom a lot. Opie then elaborated a little bit in a small comment. I expected to go to trial because my dad is very stubborn, so it's probably just going to be a normal divorce proceeding going forward. So unless something noteworthy happens, this might be the last update. Also, my mom was very happy when I told her that a lot of online strangers on Reddit were rooting for her. The whole divorce stuff has my mom very stressed. Listen, I think every relationship is different, and while I firmly believe open relationships aren't really a proper relationship to begin with, to each their own. I ain't judging. But what's so infuriating is when one of the two that suggested the open relationship almost always gets mad at the other person for then sleeping around. They clearly just wanted a free pass to cheat. The truth is that unless you are a smoking hot model, like me, guys will almost always get the short end of the stick. Mainly because we have devalued our worth by being hella easy to sleep with. Women, on the other hand, tend to be more conservative and want a emotional connection to go along with sleeping with someone, in most cases. And if your goal is to just sleep around, a guy isn't going to go through all that effort. In the end, I am really glad that Opie's mom got a great friend in Lisa who can help her deal with the divorce, and with her newfound confidence will be able to get any man she wants. A big win. In his next story, Opie has been hooking up with a girl who is in a bad relationship with her married boss. I met Stacy at a bar for a one-night stand almost 2 months ago. We clicked and decided to keep in contact. We've been hooking up regularly since then and have become great friends. We are friends with benefits. Now, I knew she was seeing someone else, but she told me that they were in a non-exclusive relationship like ours, so I didn't care. When we got drunk, she would tell me about how the other guy took her for granted many times, but I never pressed her about it. Last week, she slipped and told me that the other guy was her boss and that he had been ignoring her for his wife. This surprised me because Stacy is a funny, confident, and level-headed person. I would have never guessed that she'd be a mistress of her boss. When I asked her about it the next day, she got angry, so I dropped it. 2 days ago, Stacy called me agitated and asked me to pick her up from a hotel. When we got back, she wanted to have sex. I asked her why she was so agitated and she wouldn't answer. I tried pushing, but she stonewalled me. Yesterday, after we went to bed, she called her boss when she thought I was asleep and started begging him to take her back. She was sobbing. I haven't talked to her about it yet. Stacy is the most assertive and confident person I know, and seeing her in that state really affected me. I really want to help my friend, but I don't know how to do it. She blocked all my previous attempts to talk about it. She is a dear friend of mine, and I really want to help her. What do I do now? After collecting some of the advice and using it, he posted the following update. I pressed her about her relationship with her boss after my post. She blew up and told me she'd stop talking to me. She called me the next day and apologized. I invited her and she told me about her relationship with her boss. It's the same story you tend to hear in situations like these. It was her first proper job and her boss was super nice to her. They started meeting outside and he told her how his wife is a bee and won't look after him. She started sleeping with him and slowly fell in love. He loves Stacy but won't leave his wife. She started getting fed up with being his mistress and asked him to leave his wife. He kicked her out and stopped talking to her. That is why she was begging him to take her back. I told her I won't be sleeping with her anymore. We spent that whole weekend in my apartment. We shut off our phones and every form of communication from the outside. We played video games, talked and cooked all day. We spoke about why she was that way with her boss and I managed to convince her to quit the job and break it off. There were a ton of missed calls and messages from her boss telling her how sorry he was for kicking her out, how worried he was. I was afraid that she would go back to being his mistress when she went back to office, but she held strong. She turned in her notice and resignation letter. Her boss begged her to stay. We found her a job pretty quickly. She told me that he was begging her to stay every day. One day he followed her to my apartment. We were effectively roommates by then, and he started banging on the door and got angry when he saw. He started screaming at Stacy for leaving him, but I stopped him and threatened to call the cops, which made him leave. After that, Stacy was scared and moved in with me completely. On her last day on the job, he followed her back to my apartment. He started threatening me and telling me how he would destroy me if I didn't give Stacy back to him. She told him that she would tell his wife about them if he ever came back. He begged her to come with him, but left eventually. He started tailing and stalking Stacy after that. He kept calling and messaging her constantly. So we found his wife. She was some rich socialite who did a lot of charity events. We found her at one of those events, took some pictures with her and sent them to him as a warning. He stopped after that and we haven't seen him for over a week. I hope we don't see him again. Stacy and I are roommates now and we haven't had sex since the beginning of the whole ordeal. She's a great roommate and friend. She keeps thanking for helping leave her toxic relationship. She also started going to therapy. I don't know what the future holds for us. Another happy ending. How wonderful. I think bosses that abuse the vulnerability of young new workers to get their own way is absolutely despicable, and I'm so tired of this trope. He obviously kept this girl hooked because she was young, but clearly never intended on leaving his rich wife. He just wanted a side piece. Perhaps he was looking for a way to get away with as much money as he could from his wife, but who knows. I don't think he was intending on leaving her anyway. What's especially mature and deserves saying is that how OP chose to not have sex any longer when noticing the situation going on, and being a good friend and pillar to her instead. That takes a level of emotional maturity that the majority of adults don't even have, so kudos to him. I can't say if they would make a good couple, because she did sleep with a married man regardless, which is kinda really messed up, but we will say that was young naivete. I love reading all your comments, so be sure to let me know what you think about these stories. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll be back in the next one. See ya!